Thank you so much. Welcome to Meet the Expert series. Today we have a guest from SPEER's South Central Partnership for Energy Efficiency as a Resource, right? I said it right?
100%.
It's a SPEER. And they come all the way from Texas. Thank you so much for coming. And we are so glad and fortunate to have you here in Stillwater, small town, middle of nowhere. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. First, I want to start with introducing myself. I'm a director of Industrial Assessment Center, Center of Excellence, and we do this series for promoting what's going on and also sharing the success story about our stakeholders and our partners and what they do. And also the audience can understand that this is very important to make sure that the one-man show is not there. Like, you have to work in a team and you need to know who's the key player here. So I know you are important in our big gearbox, and that's why the opportunity here to give us what you do and how we can partner more and how our states can benefit out of it, right? So with that, Todd, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely, Dr. Vora. So my name is Todd McAllister. I'm the current Chief Executive Officer of SPEER, the South, as you mentioned, the South Central Partnership for Energy Efficiency as a Resource. We go by SPEER, much easier to say.
Yes.
I've been with SPEER since June of 2019 as the Executive Director and then the CEO after that. But pretty much I've been in the energy efficiency space, or this kind of world, broader energy efficiency world, pretty much my whole life. I grew up in the HVAC industry out in West Texas, so had a large part in that for many years, and worked for the Texas Air Conditioning Contractors Association for almost 20 years. Wow. Before I came to SPEER. So in the grand scheme of things, energy efficiency and how to work on efficiency aspects of everything from insulation and weatherization and the actual HVAC system has always been something that's been important to me. And so moving over to SPEER now almost 6 years ago has kind of just reinforced that and really led me to kind of explore some new options for SPEER, and which is one of the ways that we became involved with you guys here at Oklahoma State. So
absolutely. And HVAC being a very important aspect, doesn't matter manufacturing, commercial, or anywhere you go, even in residential. Our half of the energy just go for heating and cooling, right? So HVAC become a really good component, and I think I saw lots of people in that background become a role model in energy efficiency and other stuff, because that's how they started, right? Mm-hmm. We know that retrofitting is always there, right? People are not really have energy engineering as a degree. They have a mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, they retrofit in that, or the experience like you have. You started like that and then you become the guru in terms of energy efficiency like that. So
I appreciate it. I don't know that I'm a guru of anything, but I appreciate that.
With that, I think Todd is there, but he brings one more very important person from SPEER. So Noah, can you please tell me about yourself?
Thank you for having me, and having Todd, obviously. I'm Noah Oakes. I'm the Senior Policy Engagement Manager for SPEER. Before SPEER, I've been here since 2021, I think, November 2021. Mm-hmm. And then before that, I actually worked with the Texas Department of Transportation as a policy analyst with their commission as well. So kind of a diff background. I had the transportation background, and at that time, the Biden administration was working through the Bill Act, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, and I felt that was really an exciting time to kind of meld those two positions together, transportation and energy. And I always had an interest in energy policy. I got my master's in policy as well from UT, and so Todd and the team took a flyer on me a couple years ago, and here I am a couple years later.
Find the best person.
We did find the best person. Yes, he's outstanding.
Sometimes advocacy of energy, or even maintaining this energy literacy, is very important to find the passionate people who understand why it's important, right? Once you don't convince yourself, it's very hard to convince somebody else that why I'm going this, or why this whole organization like a SPEER, what's the mission and things, right? With that note, I think if possible, can you tell me a little bit more about SPEER? What's your goal? What's your mission? And what do you want to achieve? I know you serve Texas as well as Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. And what's your mission for a state like us? It is very small compared to a whole country as Texas versus Oklahoma being small. Give me some lights on that.
Yeah, so that's a good question, Dr. Vora. So SPEER is one of what they call a RIO. We're a regional energy efficiency organization. There's 6 of them across the nation. And we've all have our region that we take care of. SPEER was the last one that was formed. So basically in 2008 and 2009, they started working with the Department of Energy and some other folks to try to figure out how to make the Texas-Oklahoma region fit with the other RIOs that they had. And from there, SPEER was developed out of a group of some coalitions of some other groups that were there, primarily in Texas. So we are a 501c3. We're basically like a church or any other nonprofit that works. We don't do lobbying. We're basically an educational component, and we 100%. Our mission and vision is to try to promote more energy efficiency in the built environment. We are fuel agnostic. We 100% understand that Texas and Oklahoma are not areas where things like decarbonization and electrification are going to become the standard, and we don't necessarily want it to be the standard. What we really advocate is for efficiency. How do we make items more efficient, whether it be residential or commercial? How does everybody benefit from that efficiency moving forward to help potentially lower customer cost? Make it easier on the utilities when it comes to transmission and distribution and those type of things. And the demand side is really what our focus is as an organization.
Absolutely. And again, each state has their own needs and other stuff, and we are geographically located in such a central manner. Oklahoma or other centers like a Great Plains, I can say, it's like if I compare east versus west, our needs are different. Our source of energy is different. Our workforce and even the people or the companies around that is different, right? So we have to uniquely answer that, right? So our needs and other supply demand point of view, I think what I heard from the people, the SPEER doing lots of very good work in terms of creating energy policies and making sure or connecting the dots, in fact, to different stakeholders to make sure that needs are met in timely manner, right? Not just stream remaining energy policy on a paper, but actually implement somewhere and people see the real result out of it. So I'm really proud and I'm really happy that we have a friendship with the SPEERs and you guys coming all the way and helping us on doing some of these activities. My very next question here is that energy efficiency is a very, very big field, and people might think that this is an energy state. Why we care about conservation, energy efficiency? Because we have ample amount of energy available in terms of gas, oil and gas, or any other source, right? You may drive through Texas, right? I think you might saw lots of windmills also there in various places because we are having some states where we have a nice amount of wind available, right? So in that context, tell me, like, in your eyes or your litmus paper test, any of you can answer that, or maybe you can join why energy conservation, energy efficiency is so important, even though we are an energy state.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start it off. Both states, Texas and Oklahoma, are seeing increases in their load profile. Texas and Oklahoma are both, energy states. Both have, tremendous oil and gas resources as well as some wind resources, and Texas is now one of the leaders in utility solar, if I remember correct. But even with all those supply side generation resources, the demand is just far outpacing what we're seeing as far as generation development. As a result, Texas specifically has already estimated in the ERCOT region almost doubling our load profile, peak load profile in the next 5 years. Oklahoma, we know, similarly has a lot of the same challenges that we see in Texas, because what's driving this is going to be your data centers and your cryptocurrency miners. You're going to see continuing population growth, electrification of natural gas resources. All of these things are going to continue to build that demand side, and we just simply can't build our way out through generation only. And so what that demand side process does, and these conservation measures can do, is, while they're not the silver bullet it's going to completely save us, they offer a little bit of a bridge, I think, to get us to where we can build out that supply.
Yeah, I would just dovetail on what Noah mentioned there, that it's going to be difficult for us to build our way out of this. There's a lot of things that are taking place right now, not the least of which are potential supply chain issues that could potentially not necessarily stop, but really slow the progress towards more natural gas generation plants. There just may not be the steel available. They may not be able to get them up and running in time based on what people like ERCOT and SPP and those people are kind of forecasting when you're talking about what they're looking at 5-10 years. And so efficiency, I think Noah hit it on the nail on the head. Efficiency is not going to stop this process. Like, we're not going to be able to get everything so efficient that we don't need to worry about any more build out, or it's just not going to happen. But what it does do is it does slow the progress of that and allow for efficiency to become a bridge measure that pulls back some of that demand that's out there, gives a little more time to make some choices as you're moving forward. So at the end of the day, we want to focus on making sure that the customer at the end of the day in Texas and Oklahoma, that their utility rates are as competitive as they can be.
Absolutely.
That they're basically not living in what they consider energy poverty now, which is a big problem. In Texas, upwards of 40% of the population lives in what they consider to be energy poverty. And as they're having to build out more transmission, however you look at it, all that capital investment comes back on the customer a lot of time, most of the time. And so for us, we just want to make sure that there's ample opportunity for everything to be looked at to make sure that efficiency, specifically energy efficiency, becomes a helping mechanism in stopping some of that growth.
Now, I think sometimes students who work in our center or like try to do the education about energy engineering and something, they always ask like, why I do care about this? Like, why not I have a mechanical engineering degree and do what I do? Why I should have energy engineering in the background? So sometimes I give them analogy saying like, okay, if you have $100 to spend and you want to do the best out of it, what do you do? He said, oh, I will make sure that I will not buy this coffee which cost me $10. I will make sure I don't go to the restaurant and eat. I may prepare a meal at home, something like that. And it's like what you're doing indirectly is efficiency measures, right? You're finding out where I can cut my cost before I like not having that $100 available for me, right? So it's kind of a thing where the students understanding that analogy, but sometimes client also ask me this question, and I just say like the profit you make after selling, efficiency is like a profit before that selling.
Yep.
And the factor is sometimes 1.5, 1.75 also. That's basically in your hand. Before you even manufacture something, you have that in your hand. If you do the energy efficiency, is maybe you are a rich company, you don't care. Even if my model for making this bottle or making that product is already inbuilt with that cost, but you can add the profit before even it makes impactful, like more than 1.5, 1.75 times. And that's more important in that aspect as well.
Well, and like you said, I mean, it really is beforehand. We see in both Texas and Oklahoma these efficiency measures from the utility programs. The cost effectiveness is between $2 and $3 per dollar you spend. So every dollar you spend, you're saving $2 to $3 back in energy conservation.
And you don't need any investment. You don't need much like changes. All you need like paying attention to the stuff, and you do that, right? So our center is basically, we are workforce development center where we are actually creating a next generation clean energy workforce, right? In that aspect, our goal is to basically show them why it is important. If I don't show them why it is important, they don't know why I'm doing this this degree or this education, right? So once that is done, we give them hands-on experience, right? So we go out, do energy audit. Students goes out and see how this and that manufacture, or maybe a school run, or the church run, or maybe a casino. And as a matter of fact, it's like so different in terms of energy hog. The house, 2,500 square feet, maybe $200 energy cost. With the same size of a casino, have $250,000 energy cost. Just imagine, like so many zeros extra. And the efficiency in that matter, they don't care because they are gambling business. They can anyway earn that money out of it. But that's not. But as a stewardship point of view, it's very difficult to sometimes justify that. But at the same time, once they know, or once they like dive in a little bit, they know that yes, as a good citizen, good stewardship, I need to make sure I do that. And I know SPEER does lots of initiations, so I will ask you guys, my next question is like, tell us what you offer as a SPEER which can benefit our region, and maybe workforce development, maybe a professional development, maybe a gap certificate, whatever in that region. Please give us what you're offering us in our region as well.
Yeah, so I think my program in particular, from a policy perspective, a lot of it's going to be engagement. So working with the various stakeholders, kind of convening kind of a wide net of stakeholders. We really have tried to position ourselves as a problem solver, a group that's trying to find solutions instead of taking certain hard positions one way or the other. We really do try to work closely with our utility partners, with the advocacy groups, with the the PUC or the OCC here in Oklahoma, and legislative members where we can. So I think first and foremost it's an education piece from us and an engagement piece. We also, I'll let Todd dive in a little bit more, but I've had the privilege of working closely with some of our manufacturing friends as well on the heat pump specifically. And we've been working directly on how we can work on addressing some challenges with some of the policy barriers. So the technical reference manual issues on certain heat pump technologies, but also how do we address some of the other issues out there when it comes to implementing these technologies. So we've been holding contractor heat pump education courses and trainings. So we work directly with contractors, which we've been told and we know are kind of historically a little bit of a challenge to get them comfortable with a new a new resource and a new technology, and it's been really helpful. We held our first one last year in Austin. We're holding our next one in Austin as well here in a few months, or here next month, and then we're hoping to hold a few more around Texas and potentially here in Oklahoma as we move forward over the next year or two.
Yes, we used to have ICSPA. Still, there is a ICSPA group here, which actually coming out from OSU. We have a very good faculty member in the past. We actually invented lots of this. Ground source heat pumps and other technologies, and even we have some demonstration unit in our college where they actually run some analysis and other. We have a building called Endeavor. There is one of the floor is called Test Arena. They actually totally HVAC in that point is basically geothermal, and it's very crude version of looking, but they have all the sensors and other stuff so the student can play around and things like that. But again, we like to have any of that kind of a discussion, or you need anything in our side, we can jointly organize some of this event. We know lots of people in the Edge Heat Pump Association point of view. We can help you to build that.
That'd be wonderful. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we also have, just to kind of expound on what Noah had mentioned, we also have a really robust, what we call the Community Efficiency Leadership Coalition. And that coalition is made up of primarily municipal organizations. It's the COGs, the councils of governments that are part of that. It's municipalities that are part of it, counties that are part of it. We have colleges and universities that are part of the program. And one of the things that we found in working with the State Energy Office in Texas primarily, SPEER, was that a lot of these communities and municipalities really didn't have a strong grasp on what their energy usage was. In Texas, whenever back in the late 1990s and early 2000s, when they came out with those areas that they considered to be non-attainment areas around air quality problems that they were having, obviously mainly large metropolitan areas is where these counties fall, but there's some that aren't as large as you think, and some smaller ones like here, in Oklahoma, where I know that the county and Tulsa that we're talking about the same kind of thing, that these areas a lot of times getting a handle on what their efficiency measures are, what they're spending on power each month is something that's just not really being looked at, and it's somewhat a low-hanging fruit, right? I mean, you've got the opportunity and the ability to kind of glean that information. How do you change that? How do you modify some of the behaviors that are there? How do you make the buildings more efficient within those municipalities and those public spaces? Whether it be a college or a university, everybody's got the opportunity to kind of save that little bit. And so we've got a really robust what we call the CLC program that really looks and dives in with those municipalities. That's where we rely on people like y'all, right? So the Centers of Excellences and the IACs and those folks that are out there doing this work in the public space and in the private space around energy audits, all of those things then play into those municipal areas to be able to call on you to come and look at what's going on. And I think you mentioned from a workforce standpoint, this type of work it's going to go on, right? It's not going to be something that's here today and gone tomorrow. There are a lot of workforce issues that can't be sent someplace else, and these are the ones that whenever you've got the boots on the ground that are actually doing the work in the manufacturing or in the public space or in the buildings, those things are always going to be there. So we really appreciate everything that you guys are doing and pushing those things forward and trying to get. Like we said, we know it's not going to fix the problem, but it will at least slow the problem to the point where we can have some real open discussions
Solutions.
about how do we fix the problem.
No, I think as a matter of fact, like being in OSU, being a faculty, I know we generally see student who generally comes and join OSU, become a student. But in energy literacy point of view, I came across lots of areas where there is a large gap. If they come here, we take care of them. But there are lots of crowd, lots of people don't even know or aware of any of these activities as well. Mostly people work in their silos, and one of our main thrust here is to connect the dots and provide whatever it is, right? I may not have a solution in front for the client, but may I say, okay, I have these 4 resources, maybe we come up with some solution. The way you said, not everything is readily available, but at least we can either solve the problem or maybe go closer to the solution and find some the best way, right? Especially in the workforce development point of view also, lots of this energy efficiency is very low hanging. So the people who have a bachelor's degree, master's degree, they feel like there is not much meat for me there and not much to play. In that context, I think some students like in high school, maybe technical colleges or community colleges kind of a thing, where they can learn a trade, but they can also overlap their trade with energy efficiency and other stuff. And the courses you are offering, the training you are offering, maybe the target audience rather than OSU students, maybe we can target something there. And once they are a little bit educated or know something, they may come back to OSU for further education. As a matter of fact, not just OSU, any other colleges they wanted to go, right? But that bridging the gap, it's our role as a Center of Excellence, and I think we are partnering on that bigger mission. And thank you to be a very wonderful person. No, Todd, I know you very well for many years. This is the only grant we got where we partnering together, so thank you for doing that aspect of it. My next question here is that, yes, we are doing this and that, lots of things happening, lots of places, like recent time. I don't want to be a politically side of it, but I think without touching the politics, still there is lots of issue we need to solve, right? And there are lots of things which available, not available, but the mission or the bigger goal should not divert on any of these disciplines happening in that point, right? So example of workforce development, we need a workforce. Doesn't matter which government is there or where it is, which state is there, doesn't matter, right? We need to make sure that it runs things. With this context, I think my question leading to that is like, we are telling that manufacture more, bring the manufacturing job back to US, right? That's a big demand. We don't have workforce available, we don't have energy available to make sure we target these next generation manufacturing companies back to US and building that economy where we can say stand out US as like top 1 country in the world. We have some challenges, right? And again, if I take that challenge as a director, I feel like there is my responsibility comes back saying what I can do in that, right? Again, you are offering lots of courses, lots of things. We might need to work on some of the aspect where we may develop something new which may target this particular thing. For example, in manufacturing, maybe how about smart manufacturing? Mm-hmm. People are offering some things, but then say energy efficient smart manufacturing. People not even thought about it, right? 1 robot versus 2 robots or co-robots, like it looks very cool. I think I saw lots of pictures, but if you ask the client, when we went for any audit, they say like it's cumbersome. I have a hard time finding person who can program these computers or program these robots. Is even costing more than before now, because now I have to pay somebody $100,000 salary to make sure he runs the robot. And initially, I have 40 people working the same work, maybe not need any education. If one guy doesn't come, other guy can take a role of it. But if this guy doesn't know program manager point of view in the programming, if that doesn't guy show up, then I'm stopping my production. So it's kind of a different challenge, Industry 4.0, Industry 5.0 related things, supply demand. We need to make sure that we do some advancement in our education, workforce, training and other things. And I know we are on the same page developing some of these activities as well. So in that context, what's new technology innovations or new things are happening at SPEERs? I want to know from your end. I know mission is there, but what's baby steps we are taking towards that?
That's a good question. I think I kind of touched on it a little bit as far as specifically looking at variable speed heat pumps. That tends to be one of our biggest pieces. Mm-hmm. Dr. Ward, you mentioned, heating and cooling is easily one of the largest pieces of our load in both Texas and Oklahoma as well. And so, yeah, right. And so being able to identify, I know you said stay away from the politics of it, but I'm the policy manager, so I apologize. I got to get into it a little bit. what we've really tried to do is identify some of those policy barriers. We have to try to pair our incentive structures, we have to pair our regulatory structures with really high performing measures and technologies that are really going to address the problem. You know, don't be wrong, it's great to have a whole suite of energy efficiency programs in the utility, or technologies in the programs, but some of them, they're not all the same, right? You know, like I said, if you're going to hit a home that's capable, that has the right home envelope and building envelope for a variable speed system, and it can really help cut, you know, its usage, that's huge. You know, that's going to really, and if you can do that on a neighborhood scale or even larger, it's really going to help benefit. And so one of the things we did, like I said, is work with our, you know, the EMV contractor at the PUC in Texas to really help develop and begin the process of getting a variable speed measure or metric into the technical reference manual in Texas. It was the first time, and it was something that now we're seeing our utility partners in Texas starting to say, okay, well now we can start, you know, getting those deemed savings from the TRM, which go into the you know, into the programs and into the cost savings. And I apologize, I know this is weedy, but ultimately the story ultimately is that they can now say, hey, we can do some of these variable speed, you know, programs and potentially help customers save just a few more dollars on costly changes, you know, some things that might be a little more cost prohibitive.
It's again, we need to be educating them, like what is the return on investment, like why it is important, how it is like maintenance cut down or something like that. As I give example of a robot, is we have a real life situation where it looks cool in a picture, even like solar panel looks cool on the panel on the top. But if you are not efficient, what's that renewable energy do for you, right? Like knowing what is good and what's priority for them in a case by case is not a cookie cutter where all companies can do that. It's very unique. I run my home differently, somebody else run their home different. Same way, manufacturing companies, church, schools, all like, it looks simple. It's like, looks like a school, right? Same school district, two school can run differently, have done different energy bills, different things on that. Even the policy point of view, same policy applied to both, but then they will run differently because they know I can easy with this route and that, right? I cannot write every single step in a policy as well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a big mission, but on the other side of it is basically that, are we saying and are we following? Right? That's kind of a thing, like policy is like always, it's kind of a rule book, but at the same time, are we following that also? And if we're following logically, are we following philosophically, are we really buying out that policy and saying, yes, I need to contribute. So it's the passion comes out as a place as well. And that's what I'm saying, like there is the silos. People know, if some school district where you find one facility manager who does really good job, you will see his school is awesome. But then it's not a standardized process on the other side of it, right? So our energy advocacy is that like, okay, how we can standardize this? How we make this where one can save, then why not other people can save as well? And then some courses, some things which we can develop together where we can show a case studies like that saying this is a standard, you should do this. So sometimes like practice and a policy, we can merge in a manner that like people follow rather than just have a policy on table kind of a thing.
Yeah, kind of adding on to that a little bit, I think you know, the question around what technological advances are out there that may fix this. A lot of this is going to tie into the ability for the policymakers to make changes when you start talking about demand response. You start talking about distributed energy resources, VPPs, virtual power plants, all these things, microgrids, all these things that play into the grand scheme of things, right?
Absolutely.
A lot of these are going to take policy changes at the state level and the federal level somewhat, but really primarily at the state level where these policymakers decide that, hey, we see the value in X, Y, or Z to kind of push that forward. And things like, you know, demand response, as smart meters become more and more prevalent and you get away from the old analog meters and everybody goes to I think now there's discussion around a smart meter version 2, basically. We'll just say there was a version 1 15 years ago, and now they're moving into the new version, which are much more Wi-Fi enabled and the ability to control devices differently than the old smart meters. Those kind of things, and especially at the residential level, you had mentioned earlier that, you know, residences use a lot of heating and cooling. More so in Texas, it's almost 70% of our peak load is residential. But how do you use those demand response devices, whether it be your refrigerator, your HVAC system, your electric stove, whatever the case is? How does all that tie together, and then how do the policymakers at the state houses say we're going to put forth policies that make it easier to basically to enact these kind of measures, and they all tie together, right? And there's little co-ops that are doing. Bandera Co-op in Texas, which is outside of San Antonio, has basically got an ADR, Aggregated Distributed Energy Resources program, where they're leasing solar and battery type products to their actual shareholders. They're a co-op, so the customers, the shareholders, and then they're basically taking that data and being able to use that and say, these are the things that are working on this program, and these are the things that aren't.
Absolutely.
And they built an app. I know we had talked. They've got an app that uses that. So I think the tie-in, your question back to the tie-in around technology and policy is a key component to this, because as the technology increases, if the policymakers are not keeping up with that technology and willing to embrace it, then you're just going to start lagging, which is a lot of times what has happened, is that the stuff is out there, we've just chosen not to kind of move forward with it. So
yeah, and with this new technology, I think as we discussed earlier, like everybody carry a very good tool in the hand, right? Even the high school kids, middle school, right? They have a smartphone. The smartphone can do many things, which good thing and bad thing both, but I'll say, like, if I train them to do the good thing by some perfect model or perfect app, they can able to do various things, which is hard, right? I think we are working on some train the trainer model for high school teacher, especially science teacher or maybe GT teacher or science, like some kind of a technology teacher, where they come here in summer, we teach them saying how to conduct the project and then do the energy efficiency measures at their school. Pick some student who want to have that elective for their course. And then over the time, you are just, first of all, like do the audit, later on manage that opportunities, work with your facility manager, and then that small kids maybe become a project manager for that small activities, maybe LED lights, maybe like faucet, something like setting the temperature range or like meeting the demand, because in the school, I know is a time operated thing, right? Morning 8 to like 4 o'clock, and after that nobody's there. So who's looking at it? Maybe some Wi-Fi signals or something like that. The kid even at home can see and then tell teacher that, oh man, this is still running, this zone is still cool. So is it a sensor not working or something like that? That bringing back the student, when they have this experience, when they become further, he is advocating energy efficiency, right? He is advocating that energy policies in the future, saying yes, we should do this, right? And is a good practice to have anyways, right? I have one app developed, it's called Energy Treasure Hunt. And it's very funny, but I think this app, they learn some measures, and then we tell them take this app and go home and do something. And now this kid saying the teacher, the dad or mom saying close this window if the fan is running or HVAC is running, or why you need this many lights when you are just watching TV, or don't leave the fridge open, the door open for longer time. They're putting their own sensor saying, oh, it's more time. Like some fridge has that, but some fridge might not. They do that. Microwave saying, why you need 1.5 minutes? If it's done in 1 minute, why are you killing more 30 minutes? So like they are paying attention, and now parents are complaining us saying, what you taught to our kids?
Like PTSD. My mom yelling at me all the time. Close the door.
Yeah, and he's asking his dad, like, tell me what's the energy bill we paid before. And after, by doing this thing, they have to do for 3-4 months, and that work is actually become elective work for saying what you done at your school. So they learn energy management and other stuff. They apply it at their home as a like practical study, and then they produce a report and submit saying this is what I found. Whatever it is, save $10 doesn't matter to me, but at least they know or practice at home. Done some steering. I know, like everybody in a comfort zone, they don't want to do something. At least he tried something. That memories or that experience stay with that guy wherever it goes. Even later on he works somewhere or maybe go to university dorm, he knows that mentality that, oh, I have to make sure this, without compromising any comfort or anything. I'm not saying you purposely switch off edge, but just a practice. Energy saving is a habitual thing. Lots of psychological, human factors associated with that. We saw some energy models designed by people like in a school or something, energy model like that, but somebody just crank it up or maybe say bypass. So you become smart and then extra smart by not actually using the smartness of the product. So it's a kind of we build that, so we know how to not use also, right? So we are smart enough to do that. But again, that's the original question, is like how the technology advancement merged with the energy policies can bring something. And again, your goal is to do that. Our goal is also to do that. Let's do some activities in future where we have some hands-on. and see how that things goes. And if anyways we can organize some workshop trainings, I'm more than happy to do that.
We are too.
Right.
Absolutely.
My next question is around collaboration. I think we are friends for many years. Center of Excellence point of view, you have a huge contribution. You're representing Oklahoma as well as Texas, and being part of that big group, being an advisory board member as well. I think your role is high, right? Plus, you are in that place where people can listen to you also, because you have that authority to say this and that, or maybe they will listen to you because you done
appreciate that.
in that point. So how we can, now we saw what we have right on table. So I always say what's past, present and future. With this collaboration, with this friendship, with this much of a resources available, how we can go future, next 4 or 5 years, I'm saying, like what activities we might do together which can bring us win-win situation for both group, right? Your and my group, and then eventually our people we serve, which can empower by that.
I mean, that's a great question. I think the biggest thing is that for us as an organization, SPEER, one of our primary focuses is being a convener.
Yes.
We feel like we do a great job convening groups together, not just groups that are like-minded, but groups that may not have the same perception that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And so for us as an organization, especially working with the IAC and with OSU, is that how do we bring the folks in Oklahoma together that maybe would not get in the same room together into the same room to kind of work towards the same goal, right? We're all trying to save energy. We all understand that we're not trying to take any money out of anybody's pocket, but we are interested in putting more money in people's pocket,
Exactly.
Whether it be through workforce or savings on their electric bill or whatever the case is. I think bringing those convenings together is extremely important. I think having those discussions around what are the educational components that you see on a daily basis with your students when it comes to the workforce component. What does SPEER have at our resources that could be utilized to help that process? So when a student, whether they're a graduate student or a certificate student or they're taking a continuing education program, how do all of those students tie into utilizing and getting the best information possible, so when they step out into the workforce or continue in the workforce, that they know that the information that they glean from the IAC and from the Center of Excellence is something that's going to be valuable to them.
Absolutely.
And then valuable to their community. Because in the grand scheme of things, when you look at it, from A to Z, we're all about trying to help the community any way that we can, and the community is just not us or the utilities or the implementers or the colleges, it's everybody, right?
Absolutely.
From the greatest to the least. And so for us, we just want to make sure that those kind of components continue, that we help you guys when it comes to energy efficiency be able to answer the questions that may be out there in the environment that you're not seeing. But flip side, it goes the other way, right? Things that we may be missing in our blind spot that you guys are aware of, that then become part of our portfolio and become more important, that maybe you are doing in Oklahoma that we can take to Texas, per se, that Texas isn't doing. I mean, we've already learned valuable stuff just in the last 24 hours and talking to some folks that we've already said, why aren't we doing that with some of our Texas utilities, with stuff that they're doing up here? So I think there's just a bunch of opportunity to, as you said, to collaborate. That's the biggest thing, right? It's hard when you get into a room with folk and you're looking at them in the eye to be completely mad at them all the time, whether you agree or disagree with their policy or how they look at things, whenever you can actually have a drink, have a dinner, have whatever, and kind of find out where that common ground is and where the middle point is.
And again, as I said, like we are under our silos, like we do work on energy efficiency, but the activities what we do is sometimes not energy efficient. Like somebody is reinventing the wheel, but somebody else is already developed, right? So I kind of like things which you already develop and I'm trying to develop the same thing. If I'm not talking to you, I will put my all effort to do that. It's like wasting my time, energy, everything there, right? So there are so much resources already available, right? Yes, I understand that we need to build something, but even just existing things also, there are lots of things available. All we need is to first find out, connect that things, and then later on build something which cross complement each other, saying, okay, you need this, I need this, third person need this, why not we make something which all three people are happy, and then serve the client and serve the audience or serve the community which can answer that, right? You can label or something the box packing in different package, that's also okay, but at least a core work, content create and this and that, the structures, franchisee, whatever is in that context, then the trainer model, certification process, like I believe it's the same, everywhere you go is the same, but I always see that's being energy efficient work, we are not energy efficient in terms of activities point of. And that's another goal I'm saying, like I reach out to you originally, Todd, is that thing only, because you are doing lots of things in Texas, why not in Oklahoma? Plus, if something in Oklahoma, why not in Texas? And then that bridge the gap. That way we are, same time I can do 5 other things also, because
Absolutely.
now I'm implementing, right? And
Absolutely.
then everybody on the board, stakeholder remain the same. Like utility companies maybe in Texas different than Oklahoma, or maybe my other 13 states. Maybe one Joe versus one John somewhere else, right? But the same thing. And that way I will feel the multiplication factor comes where we are capable, but now with that multiplication we have a capacity to build, to serve a bigger. So we can paint more states and do more work, right? And then we'll say yes, that taxpayers' money widely used, and you can see the output around that, right? Noah, any thoughts on that? Or should I move on to the next question?
I'm all for
I'm
collaboration.
almost there. Almost finished there before we open for the question and answers. My last question is that we coming up with some activities recent times. Is it anything we can help you with your side? Like say example, any conference or anything like you need our help? We can jointly organize some of these activities.
Yeah, absolutely. We've definitely got a couple different activities. For instance, we have a What's Up series, it's a video series, where we try and bring in experts and policymakers and talk just short, informal interviews, opportunities to just talk about what's important and what's going on and kind of the policy landscape in a non-threatening situation.
Yes.
For one. We do have our conference, our annual conference, which is coming up in September, so that's
Sure.
always a good one as well.
We are trying to throw one vendor showcase in like recent time, maybe in May. I want you guys to come. This vendor showcase is just resource providing, right? So the client may be a student, client may be a real company. We are just throwing out, like maybe a technical college, university, all these other things, vendors, other non-profit organization like you, maybe manufacturing associations. You saw lots of like federally funded NIST programs, MEPs programs, like lots of things available. We're just bringing in one table so that everybody know each other first of all, and also the audience can get, okay, I need this help, then this is the guy to go for it, kind of a thing. And then go from there, kind of a thing. So please join us on that kind of this. So now I asked lots of questions already. Now it's time for you to ask us question if you have any, or else we can go to the question and answer session.
So I think we talked a lot about SPEER,
Yes.
right, Dr. Vora, and what kind of we offer and what our charge is and our mission and our vision. What do you feel like is the vision and the mission of the Center of Excellence IAC here at Oklahoma State?
You may see the flavor of it. I think energy literacy is missing. If you see that common, just a simple goal. If somebody knows what is energy and what is energy efficiency or energy management, in like I say example, like even a high school kid can understand what does that mean, that would be one. Right now, what we do is a retrofitting. Where somebody already there as a mechanical engineer, somebody is already there as an electrical engineer, I try to blend him on energy efficiency. It's very hard because the learning curve is not there. Plus, he may already wasted his time or minute on learning something, and then he changed the career. Now he takes more time, efforts to do something, right? Once he become masters and something like that, now he don't want to go on a ground level work, right? So the ecosystem here is that yes, I'm empowering this guy to become something, but then later on, he don't want to make his hand dirty to do energy audit at the lower level, right? So it's kind of like things happening. What I feel is the start should be from high school or middle school. We should envelop this energy sustainability kind of education at that level, right? When the kids knowing that why I'm doing this, then in the future, I don't have to retrofit anything. It naturally fits. Even though he do mechanical engineering, doesn't matter. But at that point, he knows energy things, right? Or is any manner how we can assert. So as an educator, as a passionate educator in the energy field, I wanted energy education should be viable for anybody. Should not have $100,000 loan to learn energy efficiency. It should be freely available for lower level. If you want to learn a little bit deep, yes, he can definitely join, become a PhD holder also, I don't mind. But at the common ground, without a degree, without an engineering degree also, you should have access to energy. Because most of the user doesn't have engineering degree. And you say, oh, energy engineering, you only have engineers there. I don't believe that. So even though engineering faculty, I will openly say that, saying for energy field, I want to build energy literacy for non-engineers at a ground level. So I'm building my sentence on that, saying that we need to start at that level. And that's the whole mission for my Center of Excellence, where we are bridging that gap by offering whatever resources needed. Is a training needed, maybe a once high-level elevated speech needed, partnership with a science teacher needed, whatever it is. I don't know. We listed some items when we wrote the grant, but over the year I learned that maybe this works, maybe this doesn't work. And I don't afraid of fail, right? I tried, rather than saying or run some model and say it might fail, I don't do that. I do ground level, do this activity, fail, then I find the solution by that. Or maybe previous experience directly applies and saying this works or this doesn't. And start creating some courses, some training, something where I give this package to the high school teacher. Then she might have a worksheets available for each week, work with the student. Student might have elective to do something at home, as I said, energy treasure hunt or something like that, that kind of activities. Bridging on that, maybe there is a summer STEM camp. STEM camp, he can come spend the summer with us as an internship, they do something, do hands-on. We are developing an app, we are developing a remote assessment capabilities where it's a video gaming, the next generation is video gamer. They can see three-dimensionally more better than I see or even my previous generation see. They are very hands-on. Like I have a son, 6 years old, he plays Minecraft and he finds lots of things. He managed a town with some budget. So they know time management, they know. He has one app which he make a pizza and then it's very simple, free app in an Apple phone. What I saw is that once the order comes, you have to deliver within this much time, and whatever topping, whatever it is, whatever crush and everything. One time I was just sitting next to him, he done everything. And he was in a rush to do like time management. So they know time management at that level. That actually brings me the idea that we should build the app, not like curating this and that, because everybody carry the phone. How I can translate that high level education into a very low level where anybody can do it. So maybe as a game, I can teach them energy efficiency as an energy treasure hunt, knowing unknowingly incorporating the Minecraft, Roblox, different games. I'm already developing some of that stuff just to see, right? Maybe I don't have energy degree out of it, but at least that seed at that level. Once they know this gamification help them. Plus, I know in high school or some science teacher, it's hard for them to go somewhere else. So we might use their own school as a component for energy audit. We build some remote assessment capabilities where we have some environment built in virtual reality, like manufacturing companies, like paper manufacturing, like maybe some metal manufacturing, maybe beverage manufacturing, whatever, like meat processing side, whatever, church, school, casino. We have that different environment. You choose and go inside and figure it out where the energy savings are. Use the app calculations. So all the calculation is engineering calculation, but you don't need to engineering degree because it's already inbuilt. And you do that work in that field, you will have a hands-on. So once you do this connecting dots, then I've exposed them saying, what's the statistics in the world going on? What's the energy politics going on? Or what these things happen at the state level? Some other news, some other things, some case studies, some stuff. Then they are aware of what's happening. Now they say, okay, now I have a skill set, I'm capable enough, now I can apply somewhere else. And that's how I can meet the demand of energy workforce as well, because just a mechanical engineering fitting an energy workforce is not enough because he may not give 100%. So that's some of the activities I'm saying. I know I'm giving a little bit longer conversation because we are also meeting and wanted to make sure that that's what my goal, that's not my goal but my team goal, and that's what we wrote in this grant, and make sure that taxpayers' money used properly. And at the end of this grant, we should have that tangible product. Everybody own it also. It's a free of cost apps. Everybody should have it. And then utilize. Maybe at home, maybe somewhere else. And that's the goal of it. So we started as energy efficiency. I said energy literacy. At the end is like, by doing this multiple times, maybe the cause of energy literacy may be answered. Right? I don't know it will or not, but that's the mission.
That's the goal. emission.
Hope I answered your question.
Yes, you did, and then some.
Not for you, just make me an engineer, but pretty easy to be happy.
There you go.
Yeah. Because being an engineer, I know we always carry that aura around us, saying, "Oh, we are engineer. Don't come to us. Like keep a distance because we are that, right?" But really speaking, the problem doesn't know is engineering problem or anything like that. Energy doesn't come any of that stuff. It's a totally very uniqueness in
Right.
that man, and you need lots of other experience on that. But again, in engineering also, we had a mechanical engineering. Like we create all these boundaries, but we are missing very important component is a critical thinking. That logic, simple logic, like common sense thing, that is missing. I saw students have a 4.0 GPA, but if I ask a simple common sense question, he struggle because he never put in that idea of a critical thinking. So in this app, in these things, we are purposely targeting critical thinking that there may be 10 things to do in the environment. Are you targeting a light which is a 1% of your energy costs versus the target something else? And should I spend this much dollar to do this or I do something else? So as a project manager or plant manager, why I choose this versus that? What's my priority? Not always engineering side of it, technical side of it, but the dollar side of it. Because dollar is something you need to drive. And like a budget sheet point of view or dollar point of view, engineers are not really good manager in money management side of it. So it's kind of like a combination. So that's what my goal, and hopefully with your collaboration, we'll make a little bit dent on that goal and see how we go from
It's a
there.
little bit every day.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that I can achieve everything within end of this grant, but at least I will make an impactful contribution to that.
Right.
Convincing? Okay.
I think, yeah, very good.
So with that, I will ask somebody to ask a question.
I've got one thing. First of all, I love the quote. I think you both said something along the same lines as we can't build our way out of our electrical usage growth that we're seeing today, or that we're going to see in the near future. I like that because it answers some of those questions about why are we doing this, because we will probably always be behind the curve. The growth is going to outstrip the capability unless we start doing energy efficiency. Do you, at SPEER, there are several segments and several different areas that energy efficiency or efficiency as a resource could cover. Do you focus more on residential, commercial, industrial, schools, or all of the above? Somewhat equal.
I think our
That's a loaded
programs.
question. I know it's tough.
I think our programs are all kind of different. So as we mentioned earlier, I focus on our policy. I think that's kind of a little bit of all the above.
Features
That
everything.
really focus on, for me personally, the residential and commercial,
Okay.
because in both Texas and Oklahoma, the industrial sector typically has opt-out opportunities and things like that. But that doesn't mean we don't reach out to those folks and make try to encourage more efficiency. But then we have, for instance, our codes program manager who does a lot of work around residential specifically,
Okay.
multifamily.
Thank you.
And then we have, as Todd mentioned, our CELC is probably going to focus a lot more on those, those local governments, their kind of buildings, schools, and things like that. And then we also have our building operator certification course as
Yes,
well,
thank you.
which is
That's a
commercial.
very powerful course. I
Yes.
think. Mhm.
And we're a part of the State Energy Conservation Office there in Texas put together
Okay.
what's what we call TEAN, which is the Texas Industrial Energy Efficiency Network.
Very nice.
And it's made up of about 5 stakeholders that really focus primarily on the ship channel in Houston. It's run by the
Right.
Energy Department from the University of Houston,
Mhm.
who's kind of the managing director of it. So there is an industrial tilt to our work, but I think Noah hit the nail on the head. Really, our bread and butter is residential. I mean, we do commercial and public spaces, but
Correct.
really from the code standpoint, we view codes as one of the primary drivers in efficiency. It is the low hanging fruit that you were talking about.
Correct.
Building a home to a higher standard, which means it's not going to use as much money.
Absolutely.
Though there may be an investment at the beginning, the long-term investment is going to pay off
itself,
and very quickly in relation to
Okay.
that. So
Makes a lot of sense.
Even I saw some places like architecture plays a big role also. Like I saw sometime you have a piece of land, you're building the house. I have a cookie cutter plan. I just said, okay, fit into that, but without energy in mind. Like, is it west facing? Is there any tree there? Where the traffic comes when? Where the wind comes off? Can I use nature to actually help me to cut down my cost?
that's a component.
That aspect is not there in many of the educations, or maybe it is there, but the implementer is not using it fully because they feel like AI can do this and I can just use it. That point of view. So yeah,
That's
very
good. Good. That's about all I had. There are several great points, so I've got a lot of notes here. The you mentioned the Bandera, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I read an article. I don't know whether it was put out by the Department of Energy that, and I forwarded to you, Dr.
Sure.
Gore. A very, very interesting concept of the virtual power plants and how you can use either businesses in the area to generate heat. If they're generating heat and you need heat, then maybe use that as a localized or regional resource that you can use. And for homes, people doing battery usage in their homes, maybe use that for the local area or the neighborhood. I think it's a great concept. So
Especially,
thanks for bringing that up.
especially through Texas and Oklahoma, where extreme weather is so frequent.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
And especially geothermal, like
Yep.
people are just looking at a smaller scale, but if you distribute geothermal point of view, like you can use exactly same model. Like some places you have a pond, some places you need a heat, some places you need hot, whatever it is. Like you can combine that and build that. I think I know one expert in this field. We have some facility here in Nation Tribes. They're building some new facilities and they try to have lagoon and all that kind of stuff for decoration point of view. But we told them to run some copper wires underneath of that because
Right.
its natural cooling comes in, and then you can actually use this for resort or some casino for some other activities like that. And they never even thought about this before. They generally go with the centralized HVAC system, like heating, cooling with
By
boiler and
default,
chiller.
yeah.
By default, right? Most of the vendor does provide that solution. Here, you need a little bit of a calculation, little bit tricky. Maybe operator needs some more training also, but is highly energy efficient. Again, is home, maybe you say, oh, I need to drill lots of things, it's costly, but maybe at that perspective, it's not at all costly. It's even a cost effective in that manner.
Well, and it's like
So-
that. I can't remember the name of the Austin neighborhood. That is kind of like a planned community that did a
Does that.
geothermal kind of
Whisper Valley.
Whisper Valley, yeah, like an aggregated
Oh, very nice.
heat pump.
So again,
or
as
a-
I said earlier, is architecture plays a big role. Sometimes the developer who developing this land, generally a builder is just building. But the before that, like where he lying down the pipes,
Yep.
he should have that. Even I saw one project, I don't know, it's basically utilizing a natural gas pipeline or a water pipelines as
Cool.
source of energy to
Right.
throw out or throw in, which is already there. The infrastructure is already there. He's just tapping into that. Heat transfer happen, and then you still have the what you want kind of a situation.
Yeah, and I think, the bottom line, as our discussion kind of
Yeah.
starts to wrap up, I think the bottom line is, number one, we as an organization and you guys as an organization, we're not trying to stop oil or gas or promote wind or promote salt. What we're trying to promote and get to the point is that efficiency measures are utilized to the best of their ability. New technologies that are developed are being able to be put into the market quicker due to policymakers making changes to the policies that don't favor. We don't want a winner any more than anybody else wants a winner. What we want is the consumer to be the winner at the end of the day. And really, in the grand scheme of things, it's going to take an all of the above approach to get to that at the end of the day. And we just feel that in partnering in with people like you guys and other folks around the region, that we're going to get there. We're just moving at a pace that I don't think any of us are happy with. And how do we improve that pace?
Absolutely.
And again, I think it does go back to policymakers and those folks having an opportunity to really embrace some of the new technologies that are out
So
there.
I'm aware of lots of technology is developed in the lab. Took 10 years to come up with a solution. Now it is in a pipeline for 5 years to create a policy and implementation. Right now the code doesn't allow, even though it's a very nice technology, taxpayers' money go to develop that technology, but the policy is not there to implement.
Right.
So it's kind of a thing, there is a gap.
Chicken and the egg.
Yes, exactly.
So
So,
very much.
As a advocacy or as a energy literacy and that passion, we need to make sure that every single aspect, like as a putting as a like a gearbox, every single gear is important and how we drive that, and is everybody's efforts needed in that. So, with the closing note, thank you so much for coming. Do you have any last minute thoughts or anything like that?
No, this is great.
Because, and at the end of the day, I will say like thank you for coming all the way from Texas. Please coming more.
Of
So
course.
we can do lots of activities, and obviously now.
Next time we come, I would like some hot wings, and maybe there's some discussion
Absolutely.
around the hot wing thing.
Absolutely.
Awesome, perfect.
As we move forward.
Thank you so much. Thank you for helping us.
Good job.
Thank you. If you have any questions, please mark on our YouTube channel and you will get answered. If you have my email address, you need some other information, I can forward to them. They can answer as well. Stay connected with us. I think we have more and more talks like this available and you can meet more clients like this. Thank you so much.